Rob here and welcome to the third video of my build series on the Tamiya Monster Beetle Black Edition. In this episode we're going to be covering parts bag C, which, well, according to this is steps 19 to 34, so might be a long one. I may have to do some creative editing on this one, guys. So to start with, step 19 is building the shock bodies. As you can see, I've already done 3, and for this we're going to need 4 off of BC8, which are the piston rods, 8 off of BC9, which are the 3mm O-rings, red, and then plastic parts we need Y1, Y3, X1 and X3. So we'll get cracking. First step is to put the O-rings in, and it says to oil them up, but I've got some of this green slime. I think, is it Team Associated or something? I can never remember who it is, but I'm going to use some of this. Put the O-ring in, poke it down a bit, nice slightly more covering of green slime. Second O-ring, some more green slime. Screw the housing on very gently, and because I've used that green slime, the manual says to oil the push rod as well, just to ease it through the O-rings, but because of this green slime I'm not going to bother, and we just poke it through, and unfortunately you get a bit of excess slime come out, but hey. And then we can tighten that up a bit. I'll tighten it up more once we're fully done. Then we need X3, which is a bump stop spacer type of thing, and then the ball end connector, and I've found that these screw on quite easily, and if you've got quite a good grip you don't need pliers. And there we have the shock body all ready to be filled. We've got the 4 of them there. So we can move on to the next step. Step 20 is filling up the shocks with damper oil. Now I was going to try and do this same way as my mate Mark discovered, but because in step 19 we, shall we say, fully built the shock, you can't actually do that because you can't get the piston, shall we say, outside of the body of the shock, so we'll carry on and do it the old-fashioned way. So we get the oil, pour it all in, and then we move the piston up and down slowly to get rid of any air trapped underneath it, and then we put it to one side to let all those air bubbles dissipate. And in the good old Blue Peter fashion, here's one I've prepared earlier, which hopefully, yep, all the oil's gone. I think that's about high enough with fluid level, so I'll wrap my bit of tissue round to catch any excess. And we get one of these BC10s, 4 off, which are the oil seals, red. And we simply pop it in like so, and no, I've had no leakage, so I think I might need a tiny bit more. There we go. You do want some overflow, just so that you know that the oil reservoir is completely full. And then we can screw the cap on. and then we can grab hold of the cap and the O-ring cap and just tighten them both up against each other just to make sure they're nice and fully tight. And there we have one shock absorber built and filled with oil, and just need to do the other three and we can move on to the next step. Step 21 is adding the rear springs and the ball connectors. So we're going to need two off of BC13, which is the rear coil spring, and in this case they're kind of gold anodized, and four off of B7, which are the ball collars. And as you can see, I've already done one. It's fairly simple. We just pop the spring on, compress it a bit. Oh, I forgot, we also need X5, which is the spring holder, and we pop that on over the bottom ball joint, and there we have it. And in the bottom here there's a note about using X4, 6 and 7 to adjust the spring tension. But at the minute, because there's no movement whatsoever in these springs, I'm going to leave them as they are until I've fitted them to the chassis and finished it, and then see how we go to see if I do need any more spring tension or preload, I think it's called. And then these ball collars are fairly simple. You pop it in, get some pliers, and I try and have the bottom jaw slightly off centre, and then just gently press and it clicks in, and there we have two rear springs. Step 22 is attaching the rear dampers onto the chassis, and we're going to need four off of BC1, which are 3x15mm tap screws, and four off of BB5, which are 3mm washers. And as you can see from the diagram, it is just a simple case of screwing the little beasts in, making sure you get the washers in the right place. And there we have the rear shocks mounted. Step 23 is adding the springs and ball collars to the front shocks. Now there is a bit of a difference here in that the springs are quite a bit shorter. So as you can see from this one, I've already made up. I think I'll put it on upside down, but hey, I'll change that in a second, doesn't really matter. There's quite a big looseness, or a lot of looseness there. However, I've just quickly tried it up against the shock tower mounts, and they do actually compress quite a bit. So again, I'm not going to put these spring tensioners on just yet. We'll see what it's like once I've mounted them. So for this one, it's really easy. It's quite difficult to tell which way round they want it, because there's two circles of the spring close together at one end and only one at the other end. And looking at step 24, it would appear that they're at the top bottom, so I've got it right. But in this one, to me, it looks like they've got them at the top. So I'm a bit confused there. So I generally put them at the top, but in my haste there, I forgot to check. So there we go, I've already put the ball collets in, so we'll move on again to step 24 and see what it looks like when they're on the chassis. So we come to step 24, which is attaching the front dampers, and for this we're going to need 2 off of BA1s 3x20mm screws, 2 off of BC1s 3x15mm tapping screw, 1 off of BC2 3x8mm tapping screw, 5 BB5 3mm washers, and 2 BA16 3mm flange nuts. And again, we can start the process fairly easily using the BA1 and a washer. Whoops. And poking it through the top shock mount, and then one of the BA16 flange nuts, and then for the bottom we want one of these BC1s, another washer, and if I tilt it up, as you can see, that's where it's screwing into, and that's how long it is. So again, I'm going to have to compress the shock, and we just need to do the same on the other side. And then this little 3x8mm BC2 screw with another washer, screws into the front of this shock tower like that, and then I just need to do the other side. Step 25 is adjusting the towing angle. Now this side, as you can see, looks to be pointing slightly back. I'm not sure if you can make that out really, but I've adjusted this one so that there's a slight toe in, and to do the same on this side, I grab hold of the ball joint and twist till it comes off, and then we need to undo the threads a bit. Well, weirdly this side doesn't seem to be doing anything. I think I'm going to have to take this cover off and see if the other side's undoing, because that's getting rather close, I feel, to coming off. So I think I'll end it there and get back to you in a minute. Okay, so yes, I did end up having to take this whole arm off because the inner ball joint wasn't unscrewing, and I was in danger of screwing this off completely. But now I have adjusted it a bit, and it's a starting point. So I can now move on to step 26. Step 26 is installing the front bumper and the underguard. So we've got the front bumper here, which doesn't have a number on it, and we've got the aluminium underguard as well. And then we need 2 BA7s, which are 3x10mm tapping screws, 1 BC2, which is 3x8mm tapping screw, 2 BA8, which are 3x12mm flange tapping screws, and 1 BB5, which is a 3mm washer. And we get the chassis, the 2 flanged tapping screws for the outside. And it should screw into there. If I can find the hole. Yep. And then this bash plate thing goes here with the 2 remaining BA7 screws. once you can line the holes up. And there we have one bash plate that's looking really nice and pristine, but won't be for long once it starts running, and one bumper. Step 27 is installing the motor and pinion gear and the actual motor mount. And for this we're going to need 2 off of BB3, which are 3x6mm screws, 1 BC3, which is 3x3mm grub screw, which I've already put into BC11, the 10-tooth pinion gear. We then need 2 BC5, which are 3mm nuts, and 1 BC12, which is a fibre stroke cardboard motor plate. And then on the plastic side we need K2, which is the motor mount, and obviously the motor. Now I was going to install a brushless straight in, but it hasn't come yet, so just to carry on the build I'm going to use the standard silver can, and we'll just get cracking. And according to the instructions you need 25mm from the motor front plate to the top of the spur gear. So I've got my thing here and it needs to come out a bit. That's perfect. So we'll nip that up. And then we can take our motor plate round about like that. Yep. And not forgetting these nuts first. Into their hexagonal holders, except it won't go in and it won't come out. Get in, and there we have one motor ready to be mounted. Step 28 is attaching the motor, and we're going to need 2 off of BB1, which are 3x30mm screws, and 1 plastic part C12, and as per, it should just be a simple case of feeding the screws through, finding the holes on this side, slotting them through, and then lining the 2 captive nuts up. And there we have it installed. We just need to wire the motor wires up now, and it's normally green to blue on the ESC. And yellow to yellow. And there we have one motor. Yeah, I can hear it spinning. Step 29 is attaching the rear body mounts. Quite a few bits here we've got. We've got 2 off of E8, which is the actual R-clip holes, 1 off of G1, 1 off of E4, 1 off of E2, and then on the metal side we've got 2 off of BA1s, 3x20mm screw, and 4 off of BA8, 3x12mm flange screws, and 2 off BA16, 3mm flange nuts. And by the looks of this, I think what we might do is build it up first. So I don't think there's any way This needs to go, so we'll go this way round. Like that. And then I think we might attach this one side. And there we have the rear body mounts. Step 30 is installing or attaching the rear bumper. For that we're going to need the rear bumper E3, sticker 15 which I've already stuck on, and then 2xA1 plastic parts, I think they're for the battery, and then 2 off of BA2 3x10mm screws, 4 off of BA5 4x12mm tapping screws, 2x BB5 3mm washers, and 2 BA16 3mm flange nuts. And I think we'll just show you the rear bumper, shall we? Because these are just screwing a couple of screws in as well, so we'll just do this bit, and it should go and slot in there. And we need one of these screws and a washer, and poke it through there, poke that through, and we can get a flange nut. That. Step 31 is attaching the antenna holder and pipe, for which we're going to need E1, the antenna pipe, BA2 3x10mm screw, and BA16 a flange nut. And I am going to put this on just because it's hanging off the rear bumper. As you can possibly see, my actual antenna isn't long enough anyway, but we're going to stick it on and be dashed. Not a very tight fit. I think I might have to have a look and see if I've got anything a bit fatter than that that'll stay in, but there we go. One wibbly wobbly, even wibbly wobblier than normal because of it being on the back of the bumper. Step 32 is installing the tyres onto the wheels, and there's quite a few instructions here to make sure you get the tread pattern going the right way for each wheel. I've done 3 of them, so all I've got left is to do the left rear. So we've got the tread pattern going that way. I've got my wheel with the dish facing me, and it's just a case of pushing it through the one side, spinning it round, and then clipping it round so it goes into the grooves, and then we can come back to the front and pull the rim of the, or the bead of the tyre over the rim, like so. And there we have 4 wheels, 2 left and 2 right. And interestingly, there's a note on the side here that says do not glue, so I'm not gonna. Step 33 is fixing the wheels to the chassis, and for this we're going to need 4 off BC4, which are 4mm flanged locking nuts, 6 off of 1150 bearings, which I've again upgraded to ball bearings, 2 off of BC6, which are 2x10mm shafts, the 4 wheels obviously, and then 2 off of C11, which are the drive housings, if you like, these little beauties. So I think I will just get on and start doing it. I think we'll start with the right rear, shall we? I better make sure I get the right wheel. That's a tight fit. Don't think I've got anything. Ah, there we go. So we've got the bearing in, we can put the bar in. Go. Slide the wheel adapter over. Find, no, that's the wrong, that's the left rear. There we go. Install it like so until it locks, he says. There we go. That feels like it's binding a bit. What the hell? I think I bent that. And now it's gone. Oh well. Good job there was a spare one. That's better. And let's get on to the front. So, for the front we need a bearing in each side of the wheel. That's nice, nice tight fit those. And that side. And again it just slots on, and the wheel nut. And there we go. And then if we just quickly move on to the last step, which is step 34, and we want B3, which is this thing here. This holds the battery in place, and I don't think it matters which way round you stick it in, but it slots through like so and stops that door from flapping open. And with that completes the chassis build and parts bag C and the end of this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching and had a bit of a laugh at my expense, because I have most of the time, and look forward to seeing you for parts bag D, which is all to do with the bodywork. Thanks for watching. Bye.